This week, Japan, a longtime US ally, made a bold move. It said no to President Donald Trump's biggest deal ever. Trump wanted to rewrite a major agreement promising more jobs and a stronger US economy. But Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, refused, insisting on sticking to the original plan. The decision shocked Washington and signaled a shift in the US-Japan relationship. Trump called it a missed opportunity, but for Japan, it was about keeping promises. This rare public disagreement between close allies highlights changing global dynamics. For Trump, deals are always up for renegotiation. For Takaichi, a deal is a commitment. Japan's refusal is more than a single dispute. It's a sign of growing confidence in Asia. Countries like Japan are prioritizing their own interests and building stronger regional ties. This moment marks a turning point in international relations, with Japan willing to stand firm, even against its most important partner. The story is about more than trade, it's about shifting power and the rules of global leadership. Why was the original deal so controversial? And what does Japan's stand mean for America's future in Asia? We'll break down the deal, the politics, and what this means for the world order. The US is no longer the only power setting the rules. Japan's no is a message. Alliances are changing, and so is the balance of power. As Asia grows more assertive, the US must rethink how it works with its allies. This is a story of promises, power, and a new era in global politics. Let's dive in. The original US-Japan agreement was massive, $550 billion in Japanese investment for American industries like semiconductors, energy, and shipbuilding. In exchange, the US would lower tariffs on Japanese goods. Trump hailed it as a win for his America First agenda, promising jobs and growth. For Japan, it was a way to ease the pain of US tariffs on cars and electronics. But the deal was unusual. Trump had personal control over which projects got funded, and all investments had to be made before his term ended. Japan had just 45 days to approve each US proposed project, or face higher tariffs. This pressure made the deal feel more like a demand than a partnership. Despite a flashy signing ceremony, Japanese officials were cautious. No final contracts, just expressions of interest. Japan's finance minister warned of uncertainty and risk. The structure gave the US too much leverage, and Japan knew it. The deal's urgency and lack of balance raised red flags in Tokyo. Japanese companies hesitated, wary of being forced into bad investments. The agreement was shaky from the start, with Japan entering eyes wide open. It was a deal built on pressure, not trust. And that would prove decisive. Prime Minister Takaichi's rejection of Trump's renegotiation was a calculated move. During her campaign, she criticized the original deal, making Trump think she'd want a new one. But in office, she defended the importance of honoring government promises. Changing the deal, she argued, would damage Japan's reputation as a reliable partner. For a trade-dependent nation, credibility is everything. Takaichi chose long-term trust over short-term gains. Inside Japan, many saw the deal as unfair. 45-day deadlines, US control, and constant tariff threats. Japanese businesses wanted respect, not pressure. Takaichi's stand drew a line. Japan would not be pushed around. The alliance with the US remains vital, but Japan now demands equal treatment. The refusal was a polite but firm message. The old rules no longer apply. Japan is focused on its own interests in stable, predictable partnerships. This was a confident, strategic move, one that surprised Trump, but signaled a new era. The $550 billion deal wasn't just controversial in Japan, it sparked outrage in the US too. The problem: Trump bypassed Congress, directing foreign investment himself. In America, only Congress controls federal spending, a key check on presidential power. Critics called the deal a dangerous overreach, creating a slush fund with no oversight. Legal experts warned it might violate the Constitution and federal law. The deal's secrecy, only Japan published the full text, fueled suspicion. Americans questioned why such a huge agreement was handled privately. The controversy wasn't just about money, but about the principles of democracy. The Japan deal became a symbol of unchecked presidential power. Domestic opposition made the agreement unstable from the start. The backlash at home was as fierce as the doubts abroad. Japan's bold stand is part of a bigger shift across Asia. For decades, the US was the region's anchor. Now Asian countries are building stronger ties with each other. They're not abandoning America, but they're diversifying partnerships to reduce risk. At the recent APEC summit, Japan's Takaichi met with China's Xi Jinping and South Korea's Lee Jae-myung. The focus regional stability and cooperation, not just following Washington's lead. Asian leaders are pushing for self-reliance, wary of U.S. trade wars and shifting policies. They're signing regional trade deals and boosting security cooperation. If one partnership falters, others can fill the gap. The Japan deal was a test, one the U.S. hoped to repeat with South Korea. But Japan's refusal sends a message. Asian nations can set boundaries and demand respect. It encourages others, like South Korea, to prioritize regional cooperation. Asia is becoming more independent, less reliant on the West. The region is charting its own course, building a future as a global leader. The U.S. must adapt to this new reality. The balance of power is shifting, fast. While the Japan drama played out, the U.S. and China agreed to a trade truce. After months of escalating tariffs, the world's two largest economies paused their fight. China agreed to lift export controls on rare earth metals and buy more American soybeans. The U.S. paused new tariffs and suspended extra fees on Chinese goods. The truce brought relief to Asia, easing fears of economic chaos. For Japan and South Korea, it meant less pressure and more room to defend their interests. The truce may have emboldened Japan to stand up to Trump, but the rivalry isn't over, especially in technology. The U.S. still bans advanced AI chips from being sold to China, determined to stay ahead. The truce is temporary. The competition continues. For Asia, the lesson is clear. Stability is fragile and self-reliance is essential. The region must build its own strength, not just react to superpower tensions. The U.S.-China pause gave Asia breathing room, but not certainty. The future remains uncertain and alliances are being redefined. Asia is preparing for whatever comes next. Trump's aggressive trade policies faced backlash at home, not just abroad. The Japan deal was only one flashpoint. U.S. businesses, politicians, and courts pushed back, arguing tariffs hurt American companies and families. The Supreme Court is set to rule on presidential tariff powers, which could limit Trump's authority. The Senate passed a resolution against global tariffs, signaling bipartisan disapproval. Companies like Volkswagen and Brooks Running reported major losses and price hikes due to tariffs. Even U.S. neighbors, like Mexico and Canada, felt the impact, straining key relationships. Domestic opposition weakened Trump's position internationally. The growing conflict at home made it easier for Japan to say no. America's internal divisions are now shaping its global influence. The world is watching and responding. Japan's rejection of Trump's biggest deal ever is more than a headline, it's a sign of a changing world. For decades, U.S. power went unchallenged by allies. That era is ending. Asian nations are more confident, united, and focused on their own interests. They're building regional networks, less vulnerable to Washington's whims. The U.S.-China truce showed peace is possible, but Asia is learning to navigate between superpowers. America remains a vital partner, but the relationship is now one of equals. For the U.S., this is a wake-up call. Unpredictable demands and threats can backfire. America's strength has always relied on alliances. If those weaken, so does its influence. Japan's no is a quiet earthquake in diplomacy, revealing an Asia rising as a mature global force. The U.S. faces a choice: go it alone, or rebuild trust and work with allies as true partners. The path it chooses will shape its role in the world for decades. The balance of power is shifting, and the world is watching. The future starts now.